Hey Deb, how's it going? How's your what is it, Thursday? How's your Thursday night going? I just left Costco. Do you guys call it Costco in the US? I guess it's Costco. Yeah, I just left Costco with my wife. Good, I'm glad. I'm glad to hear it. What have you been up to today? I've been doing a lot of thinking, as I usually do, of course. Oh, we just went for groceries. Well, I mean, I didn't go for groceries. My wife wanted to go get some groceries, but I went to go get some dog food. The dog food over there is extremely cheap and it's of high quality. So I get dog food from Costco. I got dog food for my bulldog. Man, I'm always thinking about something profound. Unfortunately, I don't get a even in my moments of peace, I torment myself thinking about um what's to come, about what this is all for, about when are they going to roll out what it is that they're actually going to roll out on the population. And I was reading an article about ICE deploying direct energy weapons on crowds of US civilians. They call them LRADs, long range acoustic devices. Directed energy weapons really is what it is. Sonic weapons on crowds for crowd control. And then I watched an interview of a US military sniper, and he was talking about, oh, I heard about LRADs and sonic weapons back in 2004, and it was always spoken of as crowd control, but it had never been used. It had never been used on U.S. civilians before, and he was kind of surprised that they're using it on U.S. civilians. And I'm like, you're surprised, buddy. You did, a tour in Afghanistan. You did a tour of Iraq. Um, you've seen who your enemies are. You know, the U.S. is not going after, equal opponents. You know, they're they're usually hurting innocent people, which is what the U.S. civilians are. They're innocent people. So they're basically rolling out these weapons that they've been testing on us targeted individuals. They're rolling them out on people. And I saw another video of um I saw another video of police in London in the UK, and they're rolling out face recognition program, and there was a journalist that was asking them, "What is this? What is this for?" Because it's like a big truck with like a bunch of cameras, and the cameras are doing facial recognition. And the police officer was telling the journalist, "Oh, well, this is just facial recognition. If you are not guilty of any crimes, if you don't have a warrant for your arrest or anything like that, the data gets erased." Yeah, right. The data gets erased, and it's just to check if you have a warrant for your arrest. Say you might be a schmex offender, then and they always use that excuse, right, to get you on their side. It's like, oh, we're all against schmex offenders, right? You're not going to protect those people, aren't you? Are you? You'll give up your rights and freedom so that we can catch schmex offenders. And as he's talking to the journalist, uh, three of the police officers that were being filmed got a notification on their phone, and he looked, and they all three of them saw a picture, and he started looking around, and then they spotted the guy, and he just went after him and arrested him. And like the guy was trying to run away, and he got outnumbered by the three officers, and they arrested him. And he's just walking down the street. A camera recognized his face, sent the notification to police officers, and here they are arresting him. He had no idea what was going on, you know? So that's coming. That's fun, right? Uh, hey, Harriet, how's it going? How are you? Lala Boo Boo, how are you doing? What is this live stream agenda? There's no agenda, you know. I don't have an agenda. I'm just talking about what's going to come for all of us. If your third eye is open, you'll stick around. If it's not open and you want to open it, you'll stick around. And if you're not interested in that, if you think ignorance is bliss, I strongly suggest you stay away from me. I will not bring you anything but stress and concern and truth, unfortunately. Mayhem in the Street, Manchurian Candidate movie, how someone ends up unaliving people en masse. Yeah, you know, this actually brings me to I was talking to this guy. I actually have to call him back. He sent me a message today. I didn't call him back. Some guy that was talking to me said he had lived in a city where I live in for a while, and he's living in Ontario. And he was yeah, I am talking about gang stalking. He was saying that he was going through everything that I'm saying I'm going through in my videos and everything like that. And he was saying like, oh, serial unalivers are sort of created through this program. And I was like, yeah, there's actually the case of Myron May. And then when I mentioned Myron May, he was like, who's that? And I'm like, oh, you don't know who he is? Which is crazy because he did mass shooting in Florida State University. No one died, thank God. No one was unalived, but three people were hit. And before he did that, I believe it was a week before, or maybe 3 days before he did that, he posted a video on his YouTube where he basically did a diary, explained everything he was going through. He said he's a targeted individual, he's a victim of gang stalking. Like, he said these words. I'm a victim of gang stalking. I'm a targeted individual. People have been ruining my career. The guy was a lawyer. Myron May was a lawyer before he became mass shooter. And he was a lawyer. He lost his job, got hired at a new firm, lost his job again. Then he became a public defender, which obviously, public defenders don't make as much money as a lawyer who would work for a firm or who would open a firm. It's just, the basic wage, $60,000 a year. For anybody else, it's pretty good. $60,000 a year. It's all right. But for a lawyer, it's like you studied all these years studying the law to make $60,000 a year. There are car salesmen who make that, like bad car salesmen who make that every year. So of course, his life was being ruined. He was talking about his family members that betrayed him, which is always something that I have a lot of empathy for when people talk about their family members that betrayed them, because I'm going through that. I have a sibling who has betrayed me. I have a lot of cousins who have betrayed me, but mostly because I have, a lot of cousins. I have more cousins who haven't betrayed me yet than I have cousins who have betrayed me. So, but I still have a lot of cousins who betrayed me. I have one uncle that I know for sure has betrayed me as well. Um, I don't know about the others, like my uncles and aunts. But anytime somebody talks about that, I have a lot of empathy for them. Um, so yeah, he was explaining his experience, and then a couple of days later, he went to FSU, Florida State University, and he just opened fire on strangers. And then They um, the police arrived. They told him to drop his weapon. He didn't. He just looked at them and said, unalive me already. Like, why aren't you just doing it? and then they promptly gave him what he was asking for. They took him out, and his testimony is still online on YouTube. If you There's a YouTube channel called Remember Remember Myron May, or Remembering Myron May, one of the two, Remember or Remembering Myron May, and yeah, it's he his testimonial is like almost like an hour. He just explains every single thing he's been through, the noise campaigns, the reputation destruction, the directed energy weapons, the V2K that he's been going through, um, the betrayal, the workplace mobbing. And this is a good man, he's a he's a believer. He prayed a lot in that testimony as well. He asked forgiveness to God for his past, present, and future sins, and uh, and then he did what he did, and we lost him. He was onto something, though. The college kids are sick weirdos. I don't know about that. I think I was actually having a discussion about that yesterday on TikTok Live, which is something I haven't done before. TikTok Lives about gang stalking, because gang stalking is a banned word on TikTok, anyways. And I expect my account will be banned very soon on TikTok. But the I was having a discussion yesterday, and I was basically saying that a lot of people who are participating in my gang stalking, they're not bad people. They're really not bad people. They've just been fooled into joining this whole thing where you know they believe they're doing something good. I mean, they really believe that they're doing something good. And the person I was talking to was telling me, well, I disagree, because I'm a good person and I would never do something like that. Like, you could never, there's nothing you could tell me to convince me to do something like that. And what I had told her, I'm about to go on a bit of a tangent here. What I told her is, yes, of course you wouldn't do that because you're a good person. Well, not because you're a good person. You wouldn't do that, but it's not because you're a good person. It's because you have a healthy distrust of law enforcement. It's because you know the story of JFK. You know the story of MLK. You know the story of Malcolm X. You know the story of the Black Panthers. You know about MK Ultra. You know about COINTELPRO. You know about Zersetsun. You know what ICE is really up to right now. Like, you know that, just because they're wearing a good guy's uniform doesn't mean that they're the good guys, you know who brought cocaine into America, you know? These drug dealers, they didn't have planes to bring cocaine into America. The CIA brought it in. They funded the war in Nicaragua against communism. And then once they were done, they put all the dealers in prison for life, you know? Um, and no matter how many times these people tell us, well, the person that was providing drugs to me in order to sell to my neighborhood, they were CIA agents. No one listens to them. No one trusts them. The journalist who tried to out this story, a lot of them were taken care of. You know what I mean? So the reason why into you would never join into gang stalking is not because you're a good person. It's because you don't trust law enforcement. Because it's very easy, if you're a good person who trusts law enforcement and who's never cracked a history book, to know that, these people are not above lying to you. They're not above telling you lies. Um, it's just, you can easily be fooled into believing their story of, look, this person is dangerous, this person did this person did that, and we need your help to stop them. And if you don't help us, more people could get hurt, And the example that I had given her was, imagine that a police officer comes to you, or an FBI agent comes to you, or a CIA agent comes to you and shows you a video of your neighbor beating his wife, and he tells you, he's done so much worse. We want to arrest him, but his wife will not cooperate with us. She won't, come to us for help. We can't do anything, but we need to have him arrested, and we're gonna need your help. And all we ask of you is that um, have a conversation with them and just mention this little thing here, or just make this hand gesture. Meanwhile, they're not telling you that, oh, he said these things yesterday, and you're making references to things he said the day before in order to upset him. They're not telling you that. They're just telling you, like, we just want to see how he reacts, and we want to get a reaction out of him so that we can arrest him. And they're trying to get you to set him up, and they're showing you that he beat his wife. What they're not showing you, right, is that they've been torturing him for 20 years or 30 years or maybe more. They've been sabotaging his jobs, sabotaging his relationships, sabotaging his life, like really like taking everything away from him. Every time that he tries to build his life, provide for his family, they've been taking everything away from him, and they've been systematically getting people to turn on him gradually and just turn his life into absolute crap, right? And that because he's unable to provide for his family and he's unable to keep a job, his wife is frustrated because she has to carry the load for him as well. And she doesn't understand, and she also doesn't believe him that he's being gang stalked. So she's getting frustrated. She's becoming, uh, you know, angry, disrespectful towards him. And he made the mistake of being disrespectful back instead of just leaving her, right? So they're being disrespectful to each other. It's escalating. They're more and more irritable, and he's going through hell. She can't see it. All she sees is you're inadequate. You promised you would take care of us. You're not doing that, right? We have a child together. And then one day she puts her hands on him. She doesn't quite hit him, but she puts her hands on him in a disrespectful manner, and he slaps her, right? He just goes upside her head, slaps her, and that's recorded. That's filmed on video, right, with a hidden camera or a controlled iPad, or like a security camera in the home, whatever it might be. It's recorded, and they're showing you that they're showing you that they fought together and he slapped her, but they don't show you the other side, which is they've been torturing that guy for decades, literally decades. They've been waging psychological guerrilla warfare against this guy for decades, and he has no idea what's going on. All he knows is his life turns has turned to crap and just keeps getting worse. And he did something really stupid, and he hit his wife. And I want you to know, I'm not talking about me. I've never hit a woman in my life, right? But I'm only giving this example because if the police came to you and told you your neighbor beats his wife and showed you proof of it and then asked you for help, if you trust the police and you're a good person, you might participate in that stuff, right? You might be convinced to do something to get that guy in trouble so that you can keep that woman safe, right? Or maybe you just want to get that guy in trouble because he's a wife beater. Screw that guy, right? But you're not seeing that what has brought him to this, because maybe this guy's not violent at all. You know, they've turned him into a violent man by destroying his life systematically, slowly. So that's why I think it's important to understand that just because someone participated in gang stalking doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad people. Now, don't get me wrong, most of them are bad people. A lot of my family members who are participating in this gang stalking, they're not good people, you know? Like a good person, a normal reaction to a good person would be, okay, well, it's not my business to bring justice to that person, but I'm probably not going to talk to them anymore. I'm gonna keep my distance from them, but it's not my business to hand down justice to people. Um, but there are some people that can really be fooled into thinking like, if I don't do anything about this, um, you know, I'm allowing someone to be at risk, and it's my duty to do something about this. And these people are good. They've just been fooled. And some people are just like, they see it as an opportunity to, oh, I can legally mess with people. Sure, I'm in, right? And so some people are pretty narcissistic. You don't really need to give them a reason, like a huge reason to participate in that stuff. You just offer them, money incentive, or if they're in trouble with the law, you tell them, look, we can scrub your record if you just help us, you know? Um, so there's all kind of people who participate in this kind of activity of gang stalking. It's not just bad people. It's also it's also good people who have been fooled. What I like to call useful idiots, right? People who want to save the world but have never cracked open a history book in their lives. They don't know anything about MK Ultra, COINTELPRO. They don't, they think, Charles Manson is some kind of crazy psychopath that just decided to go on a rampage and, unalive a bunch of people in Hollywood. Meanwhile, if you read about Charles Manson, you'll know that he was a CIA operative. The tactics that he used to manipulate people into his cult are the same tactics that the CIA uses, because the CIA is a cult, you know? Anyways, sorry about going on a tangent here. I tend to ramble sometimes. But these are the things I think about on a daily basis. And then people ask me, why aren't you smiling? Why are you so quiet? It's because I'm not blind and I wish I was. Have you read My Country versus Me? No, I haven't, Tarai. I'm glad you're here, Tarai. I'm glad you're back. The perseverance and mental strength that this man had through the struggle is remarkable and encouraging. Helen Zia and Wen Ho. I'm guessing these people are Chinese. My Country versus Me. Never heard of them, but I think I'd like to. We're gonna die when this ends, homie. We're all gonna die. I'm not worried about that. Some unalivers are born wicked from the womb. They go astray speaking lies. Read Psalms 58. I don't know that people are born evil. I think most childish behavior is evil behavior once adults start to display it, because they have more capacities and higher intelligence, and can start to plan and manipulate, rather than just react based on their needs. They'll actually make plots. Um, I think psychopathy or narcissism is something that people um, grow into, because we are all born narcissistic to an extent. And some of us grow out of it, some of us never grow out of it. I could go into like conspiracy theories about some ritualistic child abuse that is really just meant to keep you asleep, to keep you from developing um, empathy, things of that nature, just to stunt your growth, to stunt your emotional growth. Let's put it that way. But I really view it as, I'm using scientific words for it, but to me, it's really just spiritual. They're just, you know, killing your soul early on before it can grow. But I'm not gonna get into that because I'm gonna spare you because I'm a nice guy. There are some rabbit holes that are better left untouched. Recognize what you say because you in America and what you explain about drug sellers being CIA agents. Yeah. I'm 5'2", middle-aged female with a kid. Anyone with a brain would know if they are dangerous, they would be in jail. You know, one thing that everyone is guilty of is we are all guilty of thinking that everyone else is like us. You think everyone else is smart enough to realize that because you're smart enough to realize that. What I'm telling you is that most people are too dumb to realize that. Most people are too dumb to understand a lie when a cop is telling you a lie. Most people think that police officers are not allowed to lie. Meanwhile, most of us here in the chat know and understand that most of what the police tell you are just lies. It's basically all lies, manipulations. They're just trying to get you to do something or say something so that they can get to the wanted result that it is that they want, which usually is your arrest, honestly. um, but yeah, you would think that most people with a brain would understand that if you were dangerous, you'd be in jail, but that's not true. A lot of people can be convinced that they are the denominator, they are the uh, person that's going to make a difference in whether you, a dangerous person, quote unquote, will be caught or not caught. You know, it's easy to fool people. It's really hard to convince them that they've been fooled. You've heard that before, haven't you? The seed of the serpent aren't human. Yeah, that's another rabbit hole that I will spare you guys from. Hey, Annette, how's it going? I'm glad you're here. You'd have to be dumb to think I did something to guys in their 20s that are 6 feet or more. What if they have no video? Like I said, you know, you are overestimating the intelligence of the mass. And they don't have to convince everybody. They just have to convince some people. And you can't, you can't fool everyone all the time, but you can fool some people sometimes. And that's really all you need. All you need in order to have this program work, gang stalking program, is the willingness to lie and manipulate. Because there will always be people that will be convinced of your lie and manipulation, and it will be much harder to then convince them that, hey, you've been fooled, you've been lied to. The person that he told you is a dangerous criminal that they need your help to take down. That's not true. The dangerous criminals is them, the police officers. That's a hard pill to swallow. That's like, it's almost impossible, to the point where I don't even try, because it's pointless. If you trust the cops, I'm not gonna make you not trust them. You haven't had the experience, or you haven't read the story that we all have in order to not trust them. If you tell someone who trusts the police not to trust them, they think you're tricking them. People are born wicked. It's not a debate. You saw my video on Professor Griff from Public Enemy? No, I didn't see it. I didn't see any videos. I was actually never narcissistic when I was a child. I remember I would cry until my parents would buy a homeless man in the street shoes, or I would lure food from the balcony to the children. Well, I mean, maybe you weren't narcissistic as a child, but babies are narcissistic. Babies are all about my needs, because that is just how we are. We are born narcissistic, and we have to be. As a baby, you can't focus on the needs of your parents, If you're hungry, you cry. If mom is tired, you're like, I don't care. I'm hungry. It just is what it is. But yeah, of course, some children grow empathy earlier than others. Was on AJ's channel. He had people following him per usual. He was filming them. I hate that he is giving them this attention. Thoughts? I love recording when it can be usable evidence, but I'm not blessing these people with my attention. I have to say, in that particular case, I tend to disagree. And let me explain to you why. Personally, I think if you follow me, you're getting filmed. It's really as simple as that. If you're following me, I'm filming you. And one of the reasons why I think it's important to have evidence of people following you is because once we all amass proof of people doing gang stalking, following people, and we can compare our evidence with each other's, evidence and certain faces keep popping up with different victims, then we have a much better case for, you know, in order to get justice. It's like, oh, I'm accusing this person of gang stalking and you're saying it's a coincidence, but here are five other people who are claiming that they're also victims of gang stalking, and they all have evidence of this person following them, and we're saying that he's getting paid for this. So it opens up that person for an investigation. It's like, okay, now we have probable cause because there are many people. Well, I'm glad you can understand the argument, and that I'm happy to hear that. Um, I'm not from the South. I'm just thirsty. I drink a lot of water. Um, you know, it just creates a better argument for a police officer who's not crooked, who's not a Mason, who doesn't know what's happening to open up an investigation on someone who has a multitude of, people saying that they have been victimized by him, right? So that's first. And the second is, I'm not going to give you peace as you harass me. You harass me, you're getting filmed. I'm filming you, you know? I mean, I'm gonna go on about my day. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing for sure, but I'm not going to allow you to abuse me and I don't have proof of it. You're not going to have the comfort of abusing me in secret. If you want to spy on me, through my phone camera, you want to spy on me through my microphone, you want to spy on me through my TV, you want whatever, however you want to spy on me, that's cool. You want to follow me? Well, I mean, that's not cool, but I mean, that's, there's not much I can do about it, about that. You want to follow me around, you're getting filmed. I'm filming your face. I'm taking your license, you know. I'm not going to talk to you because I know there's no point in talking to you. And honestly, I don't want to talk to you. You disgust me. To me, you're scum of the earth, right? But if you follow me, if you make me feel discomfort, I'm giving it right back to you by filming you. Thank you for giving me evidence because at the same time, a lot of what we go through, there's no proof of it. Everything has plausible deniability. But if you film them, then now you have proof. So I'm 100% with filming them every time, every single time. Uh, yeah, I mean, I've never been down south. The furthest south I've been is Florida to visit an uncle who is now part of my gang stalking crew, which is really funny. But yeah, I, I just like mason jars because they hold a lot of liquid and I drink lots of water all the time. Uh, hey, Camille Zawada from Poland. That's cool. I'm Haitian and there are a lot of Polish people in Haiti. Back when Napoleon lost Haiti, basically the Haitian freed themselves from France. Napoleon sent Polish soldiers to go take back Haiti. And when the Polish came back and they saw how slaves were being treated, they were so disgusted that they defected. they just they just left. They said, "We're not fighting so that you can have slaves and treat them like this. These are human beings." And the Polish population decided to just. I mean, they couldn't go back to Poland because they defected. So they decided to stay in Haiti. And like this is a beautiful place. We're gonna stay here where people don't know us and they don't know our names. So they basically changed their names and you know, they have families and there's a lot of Haitians who are very, very light skinned and some of them is because of slavery and the French entering their bloodline, but a lot of them is also it's just Polish people. So you'll see like black people with blue eyes and you're just like, what? It's like, oh, my grandfather's or my great grandfather is Polish. They are disgusting. They seem to know it. for sure they get a thrill out of like spying on you and like following you. Some of them are really just doing it for the money. They're not interested in like terrorizing you. It's just like it comes with the territory. But a lot of them are just like they're having a ball. They're really having a really fun time. And sometimes they're having a fun time handing down justice to you because they think you're a bad person. They've been convinced of it. But I'll tell you right now, most victims of gang stalking are not bad people. Most of them. Most of them. Um, and my country is also part of the satanic top of the pyramid. Yeah, that's true, brother. We do not like slavery. We believe that freedom and peace is everything. Yeah, I mean, and you got to understand these were like Polish soldiers. They were like, you know, they're basically their mind state was like they're already going through this horrible treatment, and now we have to round them up and you know hurt them more. Like that's unthinkable. It's unthinkable. And the Polish people were not put through the brainwashing that the French and the English were put through, which is to make them believe that black people are less than humans, or less than you, or they don't have a soul, things of that nature, that had been input into people's brains. The same way that Americans are made to view illegal immigrants as if they don't have their papers, then they don't deserve rights and they don't deserve anything, and it's okay to put them into for-profit prisons because they're criminals. And it's like, no, crossing a border does not make you a criminal. As a matter of fact, for most of America's existence, crossing the border into the country didn't make you a criminal, it made you an American. You know, when the Italians came into the USA, they didn't go through the proper channels. They just came here, and then America handled it later. They're like, okay, well, let's get your names and everything. When Irish people did the same thing. When English people did the same thing. But then when Mexicans do it, Nicaraguans do it, um, Honduran people do it. It's a real problem, right? So it's just the brainwashing wasn't done on Polish people. So when they came over and they saw black people being treated worse than animals, honestly, they couldn't believe it. They were like, "These are human beings," and they understood. They also understood if this can be done to them, what's gonna stop them from doing it to us? This is unacceptable. These are human beings. Mhm. Yeah, I often hear the Polish are the blacks of Europe. They say that about the Irish as well. I mean, I would say that I know more about the story of the Irish, and I would say that it's pretty much true. The Irish were the blacks before the blacks were um, slaves to Europeans. But yeah, um, I I think that suffering is suffering is a great lesson. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't like suffering. I don't quite enjoy it. I think 20 years is enough, guys. I've learned a lesson here. But I think suffering teaches you quite a lesson about humility and empathy and the importance of reacting in the face of injustice. Or it just teaches you, if you can't beat them, join them, and you become a, a piece of filth. It can affect you in both ways, I guess. Namaste. Namaste to you as well. Anyways, I just wanted to get on here quickly, talk about what they've been doing with U.S. civilians. Um, I mean, pretty much everything that they've done to Palestinians, the face ID, um, the rounding them up. Um, it's coming. We allowed it to happen. We encouraged it with our tax dollars. We allowed it to happen to innocent people, and now it's coming to us. Do you think gang stalking is demonic slash spiritual warfare? I mean, yes, of course, of course, of course, I do. I do believe that it's demonic. It's a satanic torture humiliation ritual. I do. Heart chakra says unity is key. That's actually the motto of my country. It's written on my country's flag. It's written in French though, but it's written "L'union fait la force," which means strength in numbers. There is strength in numbers. L'union fait la force. Slaves understood that there's more of them than there's more of us than them. That's an important message here. There are more of us than them. But if they can keep us fearful, if they can keep us low vibrational, if they can keep us terrorized, then everyone's too scared to rise up. But the truth is, we don't have to become violent to get things to go our way. All we really have to do is control what we can control, you know? It's like, hey everybody, let's gather and choose our best way of action. For this week, no one goes to work. No one. Nobody goes to work. Nobody. No, nobody. Um, Next week, no one buys groceries. Can you imagine if no one buys groceries for a whole entire week? What would happen to corporations? Week number 3, every single business that is contracting these for-profit prisons and basically offering slave labor. Every prison that is offering slave labor to corporations, here's a list of all these corporations. We're boycotting them now. This week we boycott these corporations until they stop their contracts with for-profit prisons. Week number 4. Okay, now we're boycotting any corporations that has, funded this politician because this politician pushed for this war and whatever. There's a story of the actual word boycott comes from I believe he was an Irish businessman who was unfair. He was unfair with people, and he demanded that really high taxes be paid to him. And when people couldn't pay him, but he just kept demanding more and more from the village people of his town because he was a tax collector. And eventually, what happened is some people were going out of business. They were losing their farms and everything. And of course, he would just take it and he would own it. And when people started to realize what he was doing, they didn't go after him. They didn't, hurt him physically. They just decided we're not going to offer him any services anymore. So he would go to his local grocery store and they would tell him, "We're not serving you." You know, he would go to a bar. They would say, "We're not serving you drinks." He would go to a store, buy clothes, buy stuff. They would just tell, "We're not selling to you." And then when he would go to collect to people, they just wouldn't talk to him. They just decided, everyone is going to boycott this, well, his name was Boycott. That was his last name. But they just said, we're just going to ignore him. We're not going to talk to him. We're going to shun him. We're not going to talk to him. We're not going to do business with him. When he comes to collect, we're just not going to have any interaction with him. And that's where the word boycott means. That was his name. And it was so effective, and he was so embarrassed by this. He left. He just left. He didn't come collect later on. He didn't, he just took everything he had, which was a lot. He became very rich with his practices of taxing people and taking their properties when they couldn't pay. He just left. He was never to be seen again in that town, and that's why it became such a popular word. It's because boycotting works. As much as like they may try to make it seem like we're powerless in front of them. It's their system, but we're the ones who hold it up. If we decided to stop holding it, even for a week, for a month, everything crumbles. Everything crumbles. If all of us, because there are some things that you cannot not do, like you can't not pay your taxes. You're gonna go to jail. You can't not, you know, pay your I don't know, your light bill. They're gonna, take that away. But you can decide in unison that you no longer um, shop at this business that contracts for-profit prisons where they're basically uh, you know using slave labor. You can look up which company is contracted with the ICE detention facilities, um, and decide we are no longer shopping at these places. We will find alternatives, mom and pop shops, or just non problematic businesses that offer the same services. And next thing you know, for profit prison is gone. You know, because you have to understand that by contracting with for profit prisons, corporations are um, encouraging um, imprisonment of civilians. And when for-profit prisons are built, they contract with the state, and the state promises them a certain capacity at all times. Like, for example, in Louisiana, they were promised, I think it was 50% capacity minimum at all time, or maybe it was 80% actually, capacity at all times. And because crime went down, they're unable to fill their quotas. So the owners, because these are prisons that are owned, no, they're privately owned prisons. So they're for profit. It's not about rehabilitation, it's a business, right? These prison owners, they decided to sue the state because the state promised them a certain capacity at all times, and they couldn't provide that. So they sued the state. They said, "Hey, you promised us, a certain number of prisoners at all times. You're not providing that. Get out there and arrest some people." But if they can't do that because the crime is down, now they have to criminalize your behavior. That's why you can light a blunt in New York and blow the smoke in a police officer's face and nothing happens to you. If you light a blunt in Louisiana and get caught, you go to jail. Weed is still a class one drug over there, you know? So, and even the whole idea of, marijuana becoming illegal, it was because blacks got freed. We need a reason to arrest them. We need slave labor, but they're free now. How can we put them back in the system? They made weed illegal, and then they needed more slaves. So they made alcohol illegal for a while, for a time. Whatever behavior they need to make illegal in order for corporations to make money, they will, because the corporations are the ones giving money to your politicians. So they're not going to listen to you. What do you give them? A vote? So what? You put no money in their pockets. You know, if they sell you out to the corporations pay them. It's really simple. It's really simple, you know. Corporations should not be allowed to back candidates because candidates are liable to do whatever corporations will tell them to do, which they are, which is why things are getting constantly worse. Your jobs condition are constantly getting worse. Schooling is getting constantly worse. You know, your streets are getting constantly worse. It's because somebody is profiting from that, from your situation getting worse constantly. The price of everything is, you know, you think you live in a free country, right? You you know, you're in your 40s, you can't afford a house. You can barely afford to have children. You can barely afford your apartment. Some months you have to, you know, you have to make a decision between rent and food. Essentially, what this means, right? Essentially is that you are working for shelter and food. You're a slave. That's what slaves worked for, shelter and food, nothing else. And if you don't, you get in trouble. You know, you might live on the street. All manners of violence may happen to you. You might end up in prison. You know, either work for food and shelter or violence will happen to you. You're a slave. You live on a plantation. You're just not picking cotton. You're, you know, answering customer service calls instead. You know, there's no difference. If you work a job and all you can get is food and shelter for it, you're unable to accumulate any of your money in order to own anything. And if you do own anything, you have to pay taxes on it. And if you don't pay the taxes on it, it gets taken. Just because you bought a house doesn't mean anything. You still have to pay taxes on it every year. Just because you bought a car doesn't mean anything. You have to pay your license. You have to pay insurance. These are taxes. You're a slave. And I was talking to my father-in-law who lives in West Africa about this, and I was telling him, you know, having a job, he was saying there's more opportunities for jobs here than in Africa. And I was telling him, yeah, for sure. But in Africa, if your boss sends you to go get something, right? And he knows it takes about 15 minutes to go get something, but you come back 30, 45 minutes later. He's not going to tell you anything because he knows you probably met a friend on the way there or you helped somebody else or whatever. He knows you're a human. If you die, if you die and you have a job and you die, your boss will go see your family and ask them if they can help with your funeral. If you die, your family is liable to go see your boss and ask them if they can help with your funeral. And if they say no, everyone is going to look at them like they're monsters. If you die today, your job will replace you tomorrow. By tomorrow, they're going to start talking about replacing you. If your family went to your boss after your death and asked them to pay for your funeral, they would laugh at them. Like, why? Why would we? You're not our responsibility. I'm just saying the power is in the people's hands. And I often at night I'll talk to my wife and I'll be like, I feel such a strong need to do something because I know how to do it. I know how to get the power back in the people's hands and how to make them realize, how to speak this into existence and make them realize the power is in your hands. Here's what you have to do. Follow me to the promised land. I'm sorry. And then my wife is like, boy, shut up, go to bed. I'm like, okay. But I'm only afraid because when people do that, they get Technocrat America, 1930, Howard Scott. Sounds familiar, but I don't know. I had a job once where the colleague passed away, and I found out when I received a call to cover her shift that same night because she died. See? Yeah, I will actually. I'm gonna look into it right now. Howard Scott. I think I know what you're talking about, though. Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. This explains the grab for Greenland. I'm gonna spare you the rabbit hole that Greenland is. Uh, let's do one conspiracy theory at a time, shall we? But yeah, if I'm a businessman and I tried to buy Greenland in the past, right? If I'm a billionaire, I tried to buy Greenland, they wouldn't sell it to me. I have plans for Greenland. I'm a billionaire. I can afford Greenland. And I tried to buy the land from Denmark, but they refused to sell it to me. And then I put money into the campaign of a president. Let's just say maybe the president of the United States. Maybe. Right? And I give him money for his campaign, millions of dollars for his campaign. I expect a return on my investment. Go get me Greenland, son. Never join the army. You know, my freedom of speech are not my freedom of speech and my civil rights are not in Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen. They're in none of these countries. My civil rights and my freedom of speech are right here. They're being threatened right here. When you join the military, you're not fighting for the freedom of your fellow man, for the safety of your country. You're fighting to advance the agenda of whoever funded your president. You're fighting to put millions in the pockets of billionaires at the cost of your life, your safety, and forever PTSD because you can't drop shablooey on babies and innocence and then go home and sleep like a baby unless you're a psychopath. And if you are a psychopath, nothing I'm saying to you matters right now, anyways. Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna look into it. I'm definitely gonna look into it. It's propped up here, and I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole. Anyways, before I go, anybody has anything to say? Any questions? Anything they want to get off their chest? You know, now is the time. Assalamu alaikum. Walaikum salam. Peace be unto you as well, Gracie. Salam. It's really funny. A lot of people are like, will make fun of Muslims and Islam. They'll say like, you know, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar means God is the greatest. Is he not the greatest? If I say God is good all the time and all the time God is good, no one views me as some kind of monster. If I say Allahu Akbar, people are like, whoa. Enjoy an amazing evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Thurai or Thuray. I don't know how to say your name. I'm sorry. Glad I found your channel. I'm glad you found me as well. You don't know Beans. I'm gonna look into Howard Scott. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk about him next time. Allahu Akbar means God is the greatest. That's right. Take this. It was when my father passed away 7 days ago. So can you see my mourning? Dang. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm very sorry for your loss. You're an American soldier, are you? I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you. I mean, there's nothing to be proud of with the military either. I mean, it takes great accomplishments to be in the army, but the army is nothing to hold high. The U.S. has never gone into a country and made it better, though they say they do, and Venezuelans believe that things will be better now that the U.S. is in charge. They haven't looked at Haiti, they haven't looked at Guatemala, they haven't looked at uh, the innumerable amount of countries that have been affected by the U.S. Anyways, guys, you deserve grace, you deserve mercy. Stay safe, stay smart, crack open a history book. I love you guys. Thank you, Annette. Thank you very much.